I started with classical piano when I was 4 years old, and it gave me a great foundation on playing the piano and learning different melodies and classical composers. And then I went to school for music and I studied under Patrice Rushen, who is an extraordinary musician, pianist, and producer herself. And she's had several hits as well in pop music too. So it was an honor to study with her, and being in that school really taught me about the importance of arrangements and production throughout the decades. We started from Motown and then made our way up to contemporary pop music of today. But the 80s really stuck with me, especially as a keyboardist myself. I really love the synthesizers and the way the production is created in each song. And so that's kind of where I drew a lot of inspiration for my own music, which I call Retro Electro, as you said. And that music is really a definition for the music that I write and produce myself. And I have a lot of fun with it, and I play around with all the production, and it's definitely a outwardly experience. Not many artists produce their own music, but I do think it's becoming a little more popular now that you can write and produce at home, and you don't necessarily need a studio. But yes, I write and produce all of my music myself. And then the one thing I don't really touch is mixing and mastering, because that's a whole different beast. But I work really closely with my dear friend Robert Orton, and he mixes and masters the songs once I've finished writing them and producing them, and kind of getting the whole structure of the song ready. And that's been a really good dynamic, because I can create all these parts, but he brings them to light in different sections of the song, and you can hear every little piece that maybe you couldn't necessarily hear with my mixing. I was just in Canada for a tour. I was opening for Shaggy, which was a really fun experience. I definitely feel the Canadians, in my opinion, you guys have so much culture, especially in the French-speaking areas. I love that because I speak a little French as well, and I love that it's bilingual and everything's translated from English to French. I think that's very inclusive. And when I performed in Toronto and Moncton, which had a little French there, and Kitabala, I just felt like the audience was super open-minded when it came to music, especially, a lineup such as Shaggy, who's heavy reggae music, and myself, that's retro electro style music. It didn't seem to bother anybody in the crowd. It seemed like everybody was just there to listen to music. And so I expect that the same, and especially with me being able to speak French, I feel like I'll have a big connection to Montreal. I definitely think that putting on a show is returning in live performances, just because of the lack of shows that we had during the pandemic. And so I think people are really craving a production and a show to escape reality, especially during these times. But I do think that my show is something that is really unique because it is just myself on stage. It's not a big production. The show is entirely curated by myself, so it's very personal to me. And the show really contains myself, my guitar, and my robot companion, which I've named Phil Collins. And we have this very fun dynamic, and I think it's a show that people haven't seen before, so it's very entertaining and mysterious. It's pre-prepared. He has his own script, and he's not AI, but he's someone who creates a dialogue with me on stage, especially when I was creating the show. I wasn't, I don't have all the resources at this time yet to bring a whole production. And so I wanted to find a creative way to be entertaining and to engage with the audience, but also have some banter on stage that isn't just me talking the whole time. And so Phil Collins comes in because he's fantastic with explaining the situation that's going on stage. He's great at being an MC. He loves introducing all the songs, and he gives little Easter eggs here and there. And so it's a really fun dynamic on stage. It's got some dry humor, which is probably my favorite type of humor. And I think it's engaging, but it's also it's a little crazy. It's like, what's really going on? Really great question. I think I'm very inspired by, I'd say like cyberpunk is really inspiring to me. And going back to the old, um, I would say the classics of um, space movies and looking back at Star Trek and Star Wars and Lost in Space and going to all those kind of references really inspire me to look past this world and kind of create this universe that I've really enjoyed doing. So
Wow.
that's, yeah, that's a big inspiration for me.
Now that these are great references. These are references that also are close to my heart. So I really like
Oh,
them already. Yes, of course.
it's always a interesting balance that it does make it easier because I'm just myself in the studio. So that helps with being true to my brand of retro electro. But I would say that um, the whole style of retro electro is creating something that's familiar but still distant enough where it's a little confusing on where we are in the time period. And it gives this feeling of comfortability because it's something that you may feel nostalgic about, a certain sound, a certain style, but then there's still that idea of, oh, this is futuristic and I'm exploring something new. So I experiment with that through the production with just trying different drums or trying different synthesizers that I think fit with the song, different rhythms. And I also think I have the benefit of being growing up in this day and age and having the ability to listen to all this discography before me in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And so that's kind of how I draw the bridge between the two. I definitely a very big fan of Toto and their just musicianship is something that I really look up to. And I mean, they've written such amazing songs with very diverse melodies. So I love listening to them. Even though they're a little yacht rock, they kind of bring, they use the synthesizers and the keyboards are fantastic. Um,
They also did a fantastic soundtrack. You know that they did the soundtrack for the original Dune by David Lynch.
oh wow, I didn't know that.
They did the music for that, and it's great. So it always was for me. And I mean, Toto, I really like them.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
It's a little nugget that not many people know about, but it's great.
Oh wow, well, you taught me something new because I do love that soundtrack.
It's them.
Well, now it makes at least I'm consistent.
Yeah, they are totally consistent.
Um, and I also am a really big fan of Wham, and I do cover Everything She Wants live, which I just released that cover as well, where I recreated the production, and that was such a fun learning experience of kind of dissecting the song that was produced by George Michael and to see all the counterparts he created. It was really fun. So I've been performing that song and I don't know, them as a team, but especially George Michael, I really look up to. And I also love Shaka Khan. I think she's timeless. Her voice is fantastic. And she just has this level of confidence on stage that I really am inspired by. Je parle un petit peu de français. J'ai appris le français à l'école quand j'étais petite. Et c'est quelque chose que j'adore parce que je pense que c'est très important de savoir plusieurs langues. C'est bien pour la culture. Mais aussi, j'adore le français. Je pense que c'est très beau. Et c'est quelque chose que j'essaye de pratiquer plutôt parce que tu peux oublier après, après du temps. Donc,
Mais justement, parce que il y a des gens qui apprennent le français à l'école, mais là, ils oublient complètement par la suite, ils sont incapables de parler. Mais vous le parlez très bien. Vous avez une excellente mémoire ou vous avez pu pratiquer un peu plus que d'autres au fil du temps?
bah, j'essaye de regarder des films en français, de lire en français. Et puis, j'avais l'opportunité d'aller à Paris. Euh, donc, ça, c'était j'étais très inspirée, c'est ça le mot, euh, par la langue. Et donc, j'essaye de lire un petit peu et oui, de regarder la télévision en français.
And I know I'm not shy.